Hi, this is Reef Beef. We cuss a little bit. If you don't like that, that's what it is. Just a warning.
Hello there, my name is Rich.
And my name is Ben.
And this is the Reef Beef Podcast. And today we are going to be talking about some beefs. We're going to talk about weird fish encounters that Ben and I have had. And we're going to talk about feeding your fish. There's probably some beefs that might turn into like long things about super glue and about Cipro. But we'll see what we can get to. This show is brought to you by saltwateraquarium.com, Champion Lighting and Supply, and powered by PolypLab. This is Reef Beef. Ben, are you
No, just real quick, this is my homage. In 1985, I was 10 years old, and my favorite movie was American Ninja, starring Michael Dudikoff. And I'm American Reef Beef Ninja. But now that shtick is over, that flag was stuck in my neck, and here's my face. So that was Michael Dudikoff's 2 seconds of extra fame.
Yeah. Excellent. I'm sorry I'm chewing. I was on hold with Home Depot for 45 minutes trying to get them to give me money back. So I would say don't order appliances from Home Depot, but everywhere is going to suck just as much. So that's how that works.
Yeah, where else do you get it nowadays?
What's going on reefing world-wise for you? Or non, I guess, because I talked about Home Depot, which is a weird thing.
Oh, well, I'll condense this into a quick thing. I have a client that I do weekly that's 2 separated reef tanks. And I've been having trouble with their ATO because the way it's arranged, they don't have common filtration nor common ATO or common any of that stuff. And the space provided in there, I did not install the tanks. I'm redoing them. Okay. And so they had these little 6-gallon ATO reservoirs on there. And I was cleaning up my garage and found from the same company that I had a 9-gallon. And that solved all my problems. So I threw it on there, and I was very happy about that.
Fantastic.
Larger ATO reservoir.
That's good. Larger stuff like that's often better. Cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else exciting going on here. I have to attack all the baby corals from the spawning this week and split them up and get them all set up. And then I have to choose corals for this year's spawn. Oh. What am I going to do? I will put something up on the Discord about, what people think would be a good one to go for. Other than that, what happened? Somebody on the Discord said that that I should experiment with running less effluent through my calcium reactor. So, and that made some kind of sense. I got into the habit of controlling it with effluent rather than by lowering the pH in the reactor. So I am dialing it down a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. It seems to be holding up just fine. So that's really nice.
So just real quick, though, is that like, because when you run stuff faster, you're taxing the equipment more? Is it because
you burn through the peristaltic pump tubing faster.
Oh, don't I know that? Because I did the same thing.
Yeah. So, and I also got a spare camoer because we're leaving the country forever. No, we're going somewhere.
Fuck that shit. Yeah.
And I want a spare one there in case something happens. They can just go undo the tubing and here you go. Yeah.
Is that continuous duty X STP?
Yeah, I believe so. The Wi-Fi version.
The one that's not very cheap.
It's not very cheap. I was gonna go back to the liter meter, because I almost never have issues with that, that kind of issue with the liter meter. But I don't know. I've got this pump, so I like it.
The liter meter's still being manufactured?
Yeah.
Dude, that thing is like 25, a good 25 years old.
Yeah. And I was using their ATO version, which allows you to change the rate, which I really like. But like I said, I think I got just stuck in a pattern of changing the rates how I do things. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Feels like there's something else going on.
Hey, with my conveyor for my client, I did this weird thing because I had their their effluent like cranked up to like 120 per minute, and it burned a hole through the tube. And what I did is I found the exact tube on like Alibaba.com. And I mean, I know that comes from China, but man, it took forever to get here, ever. But I got this long length that's like 3 feet long. And then all I have to do whenever it does it again, it took a long time to get here, and it sort of seemed expensive. But when I did the arithmetic for buying all the extra things, it's way cheaper.
How much was the tube?
If I'm trying to remember, it was like 40-ish.
How much is it if you're not trying to remember?
Then it's, oh yeah. God knows.
And how many tubes do you think you'll get out of it?
Oh man, a lot. I'd say maybe 20.
Oh, how long is it?
I believe it's 3 feet in the tubes when you pull them out, or something like
it's like 6 or 8 inches. So
it's like 3 caterpillars from Texas.
You probably get about 6 or 8.
Well, thanks for shitting on my.
No, I'm not shitting on it. It's important that we, I think that Mind Stories start.
Yeah, if I said like 20, and I am probably way off.
I mean, I could do the math right now, but I don't want to. I'm looking up to see how much I paid for a replacement tube.
I swear it's this big. But hey, while you're Googling that, I'll tell you one thing. My recommendation, if you buy any peristaltic pump, go ahead and order the tubing set, whether you need it or not, because you will need it.
100%.
And what I do is I get a little Ziploc bag and a thumbtack, and I'll thumbtack that in the stand to where I know exactly where it's at, because I promise you a peristaltic tubing set is something you will absolutely need.
Oh, it's 6. So if you got 3 feet of tubing, you can get 6 out of it, right? If there's 6 inches each, right? And it costs you $40. Yeah. The new ones that come with the zip tie already on and the things are $7.80 each.
Okay. Times
so you're saving $7, and you had to wait 3 months for it. And you have to make it and put it all together yourself. So maybe
Richard.
Maybe that's worth it. Maybe it's not.
I would have made it if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
That's right. If somebody hadn't actually checked your math, you would have been saving so much more money.
$7 is one trip to Taco Bell.
Yeah, but then you're paying for that for the next 48 hours too.
Yes.
I like to do it this way with it all done, because if I'm out of town, it's like, here you go. But I guess I could only have one of these, but I'm a lazy. Oh, I want to ask you, on the one that you burned a hole through, did you grease it real good?
I did, even beforehand, because I thought, wow, I'm running it fast.
Weird.
And I put the required, the grease that comes with it on there. But
interesting.
Yeah, I was rolling it though at 120.
That's cool. Wow. Yeah. Because I was running 140 for a while and it didn't burn through.
Now it rolls at like 30-ish or 40-ish.
Yeah, I'm down to that's good. I'm about 60. Oh, but you're not able to raise yours up. I actually still need to turn off my calcium reactor for a week and see if the caulk keeps up on it.
Ooh, that's a fun experiment.
Yeah, I might do that after I get back in September. Actually,
absolutely.
I may not do that at all until.
Because honestly, that's like a long-term experiment.
Yeah. I might not. I probably shouldn't play with that until next April, after the spawning.
Mental note, keep that promise, because I can almost like feel that like psychically that you mess with that before what you just said, and that's going to be an issue.
No, I think if I'm going to mess with anything now, it'll be with the effluent in a tank set up with the effluent from my auto water change.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Fuck it. Leave it alone. If your tank's supposed to be stable, why are you fucking with shit? To eke out some weird benefit.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Richard.
What do you know about saltwateraquarium.com?
Dude, I know that they have a mobile app that you can order. I know that they have 3 locations across the continental United States. I know that they are, as of yet, still a family-owned business. I know they have a lot of resources online, articles, and ways to get in contact with them. I know that they have lots of discounts for ordering and for healthcare providers and veterans. And they have all the stuff that you need. I know that Kenneth keeps his grandparents in the closet and they package up all your orders. And if you order now, he'll let them out for lunchtime.
Yeah, the 3 locations, they say that all over the place because I think it really matters. If you want something fast, they'll get it to you fast in the continental United States. I don't know if you live in New Zealand, how quickly they're going to get you something. But I usually order something at 11 o'clock and then it's shipped by 1 o'clock and it's there in like 2 or 3 days. I think they've got a lot of stuff that you can buy, and their app is pretty decent to use and get around with. Their website's really great. And they have almost everything. They have, anything not weird, they have it and they get it to you quick. And so that's great. They also have a lot of community outreach, which I think is helpful. You can text them and someone will get back to you. You can join their Facebook group and they have lots of discussions. And sometimes Lord Mark Callahan will touch you with his noodly appendage and bless you with some information that he thinks is true, which is probably true because he's a good guy. So they've been really nice. Oh, go ahead.
No, I said, be sure though, when you do go there from here, use our URL, because we like to it's the way to quantify that the ads that we're catching the right people to send to them. So use our URL down below to go to their website.
Yeah, and you can put weird stuff in the comments there of the notes of your order.
A fish poem.
As weird, a fish poem. And if they send it to us, we'll read it on the air.
Yes.
And send you a sticker. saltwateraquarium.com. They've supported us at the beginning. We used them before the beginning of this show, and we really appreciate their sponsorship. So check them out if you're in the market for some products.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
Let's do beefs. Here's my beef. My beef is super fast and super easy. It's about Cipro. And I used to talk, and we would talk a lot about not wanting to use antibiotics because of bacteria developing resistance to the antibiotics, right? And then I found out that you can buy Cipro over the counter from a website with no prescription. So it's kind of like, I feel like it's still a thing. Antibiotic resistance is a thing, but there's no barn anymore. It's not just the door. The whole barn is gone. And the barn is pissing Cipro out all over the place. And so I'm not going to talk much about not using Cipro because it will develop antibiotic resistance. I mean, we could develop a super bug in the aquariums. All the people who are just always dipping all their anemones, that's where it's going to happen. We're going to get a bug, if it's going to happen, from one of these facilities that's using Cipro all the time. And then they're going to spread it, just like we think the elegance coral pathogen was developed in a holding place. That's
the part I don't understand is why in the hell is stuff like that not regulated?
Because America.
Is it freedoms?
It's freedoms. Other countries, highly regulated. America, not so much. Don't know what to do about it, but I think our ire can be more usefully spent somewhere else. What's your beef? You had a beef.
My beef is, I don't know if it's large tubes of super glue suck or if I suck.
You read my response on the Discord.
Yes. Which on the Discord, like I wasn't doing most of the things that you were talking about, but so I have the BSI, the big tube, but I have all sorts of tubes. I have the Ecotech stuff, and then I have the little PolypLab little gluelets. Yeah. And I just, at any given time, I just grab what's at hand, and I'm on a ladder doing this stuff. And I had done something where I mucked up the nozzle on the BSI, and I know it has extra nozzles, But then I tried to take the nozzle off. Well, shit, I had super glued the nozzle onto the tube. And so I'm trying to squeeze, and then I'm trying to look around. I mean, I'm at a client's house, so I don't have like a lot of things necessarily on hand. Trying to look for something to poke a hole in the nozzle top. I'm like, eh. And so I go get a pliers, you know, with a wire clipper on it. And I start clipping down the nozzle, and then it's gunking, and then that gets stuck. And I swear I didn't put the tube in the water. It's just, and then I think I squeezed it bad enough to where I smashed the nozzle, and it started squirting out in sheets that I was metering out. And then that got gunked up. And so I'm holding a frag with my right hand, and I start just squeezing the tube with my left hand. I look down, and my fist is glued shut around the tube, like all 5 of my fingers, all 4 of my fingers, including my thumb. And so then I spent 10 minutes trying to get my fucking hand off of the tube of the super glue. And it was just a mess. And it, you know, I didn't craft the story to talk about our sponsors like Gluelits, but I'm just saying with the PolypLab Gluelits, man, it's like 1 to 2, maybe 3 applications, and then I chunk it, and I get, for me, I have no chance to muck up the nozzle or any of that. It's just frustrating.
How do you muck up the nozzle on the BSI glue?
God, dude, I don't know. I mean, maybe I should have like a throwaway paper towel or something. Every time I sort of squirt some out and then set it down, maybe I should like clean off the nozzle and then put the cap on right away, do my thing, and then.
How are you not mucking up the nozzles on the PolypLab glue?
Because it's only like 2 to 3 quick applications of it, and then it's.
So it's not that you're not mucking it up; it's that you're throwing it away before it has a chance to get.
I'm using it past, you know, what I would.
How many times are you reusing the BSI one?
Yeah, I mean, until I can't get the fucking nozzle open anymore.
How much glue are you using at a time, roughly?
With the BSI?
With anything?
Just like it depends what I'm doing, but I tend to go just like you, because you sort of taught me on your method.
Yeah,
I go heavy on super glue. I don't fart around.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple things I think. I think people forget that super glue is super glue, and it's not Elmer's glue, so you can't just poke a hole in it. So, and you certainly can't squeeze the tubes, because the tubes are aluminum and they will explode. If somehow I keep extra nozzles around, and I can usually get the nozzle off with the pliers if I need to on the BSI glue. But if I can't, or I don't want to deal with it, I will usually take a snip and snip a hole near the bottom of the BSI tube. And that's my new place where I'm distributing glue from. Use the tube in reverse. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it seems messy too, though.
It's a little bit messy, but you can get, I mean, it's not really that much more messy than using the applicator, because you've just made one hole, you know where the hole is, and you're squeezing glue out of that.
I will tell you this, whatever the like viscosity or consistency of that BSI, that's got to be one of the best ones out there. It's just thick, man, crazy thick.
We did that video when you were here about glue, and I was using the PolypLab glue for gluing rockwork together underwater. It doesn't set up in the way that I like it to set up. So I find that the BSI glue is really good for that. You prime where it's going, you prime the thing you're sticking it to. So you prime some glue on your rockwork, and you prime some glue there. Then you put a big gob of glue in, and you push the rock you're gluing to your rockscape, and you smear it around a little bit. Then you pull it out about a half an inch to an inch, and then you push it in again. And the reason you pull it out is because the glue forms a skin, and the glue inside doesn't cure. So you want to get it all exposed to moisture to make it stick.
I want to reiterate on something, and this came from Richard, as far as I know. A very important part of this step is to squish a bunch of super glue on your finger and prep where you're going to glue something to, because the super glue, if you just dabbed it on a frag and smushed the frag in there, like, that's a little hard to set up. And man, cyanoacrylic sticks to cyanoacrylic super, super good.
Yeah.
So when you prep the area you're going to put a frag with a bunch of, it's messy on your fingers, but boo-hoo, it goes away. But you prep that on there and then put glue on the frag and then squish it around, lift it up, squish it around. Dude, that sets like crazy. So if someone's out there and it's like, I don't have good luck with gluing things with super glue. Now I have a problem with the super glue utensils, but I can glue, Euphilia this big, to the side of a rock hanging upside down. I have a tank out there where I'm doing that using that method. The Richard, what is it called?
Somebody put an acronym up in the Discord.
Richard Ross super glue method.
It's all about acronyms now, and it makes me laugh so hard. What did they call it? I'll tell you one sec.
What does it sound like when you laugh real hard? You sound like someone that's stuck in a basement with Milky Ways.
It's the same way, as long as it's not Mars bars
or Baby Ruth. Baby Ruth.
The RRRBRGT.
RRRBRGT.
The Richard Ross Reef Beef rock gluing technique.
And
the reason you smear it on is the same reason you do the push and lift. And sometimes you have to do the push and lift a few times. And then with the icy gel, at least you just hold for like 30 seconds and it's there. It's there enough to hold it. With other glues, they don't set up that fast and you got to hold it longer. But the reason you're smearing is the same reason you do the lift, is you need to, if you just put super glue against the rock underwater, it's not going to stick because it's already set up a membrane. Cyanoacrylate glue, acrylate, hardens, cures from moisture. So it needs some moisture to be able to set up, but it skins and the skin will bounce off of rock. So you gotta smear it in. And then, like you said, it sticks to itself much easier.
Can we say schmear?
You can say schmear. And we could get like a chive schmear.
Yeah.
Yeah, which are all disgusting. Cream cheese is meant to be pure. So if you're putting some weird anything in your cream cheese, you should go to rehab.
Dude, you're a cream cheese purist.
Hell yeah, elitist motherfucker. The other thing is I use a lot of that glue. So, after about 2 times with the icy gel, I'm done with it. It's not enough.
Yeah.
I think your life might change a lot if you try, clipping the applicator back. Fuck that. It's a waste of your time. If you can't get the applicator off to do a new applicator, forget it.
So, but if you're clipping the corner,
yeah,
then you go to use it again. Do you have to clip it a little more, or do you just
clip it? I clip it in another place, right? So if the applicator is clogged and if the nozzle itself is clogged, right, but you can feel there's squishy glue, the only way to get it out is from the back. And what I would do is I clip it at the back and then I, reverse the tube of toothpaste and I use it. And then when it's done, I dip that in water so it seals up. And then the next time I clip it on the other side. And then if you're not done with it by then, you're not using enough glue.
I'm going to try that, but I feel like I'm going to end up gluing my forehead to my knee or something.
I think that's what people want you to do. So I think you should. And I'm not in any way saying that everyone should glue it the way I'm doing it. It's if you want to use gluelets, use gluelets, if you want to do what I'm talking about and get the most out of the icy gel, because the icy gel is the right glue for the application, right? Because not all glues are the same. They don't all work the same. Any different glue you get, you're going to have to use a few times before you understand what it does. So, you do whatever. Everybody should do whatever the hell they want to do. I get a little sad when people blame the tool when they're trying to use it like a different tool. It's like, man, it's just a use thing. Some people love liquid super glue. Makes no sense to me.
Do they really?
Crazy. Some people do. Yeah.
I hadn't really heard that.
It makes me nuts, but I'm not gonna yuck your yum because you like that glue.
You just use a lot of it.
Yeah, I think the icy gel, even though they love Jesus, I love the icy gel so much that I am They're a religious company. But I love that glue. So that's the one I like to use.
The glue loves you.
Boom. And I love the gluelets too. The gluelets are great. Oh, what I won't use is anything bigger than like the icy gel, right? Any big tub of super glue. I think you're asking for moisture in the air to get in there and make the whole thing harden.
Oh, maybe I should mess with that.
Oh my God. I think I still have two big things that I got a long time ago that are just rock hard. And I'm keeping them because why?
So you can throw them at me when I come over and I glue myself to the wall.
No, you got to glue your knee to your nose.
Yes.
Which I think next time together, we're going to have a glue off and do that.
Glue off.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
Hey, Richard.
Are you going to sing a song?
Who is the champion of lighting and supply?
Champion Lighting and Supply.
That'd probably be a good answer.
Yeah.
Champion Lighting and Supply. Richard was about to talk, but Champion Lighting and Supply.
Champion Lighting and Supply sent me a Reef Factory product. Now, I told them I was going to pay for it, but they didn't let me pay for it. They sent it to me. It is the Reef Factory TDS meter. And I love this thing for several reasons. One, it plugs into the wall. So when you want to go look at it, you never have to press a little button to turn it off and on. It's just
cool.
always on. And you never have to change the battery. I love that so much. The other thing is it's Wi-Fi. So I can look on my phone and check what the TDS at my TDS meter is at any moment.
Oh, dude, I need that.
It is super cool. And the other thing that is super cool about it, here you go. Look, it's 0, right?
That's a good number.
The other thing about it is I have it set to yell at me. It will send me an alert on my phone when my TDS hits 2.
Wow.
So I know it's time to change my DI.
You can set that. You could have told it 1 or 3.
I could have told it 1 or 3 or 10 or 50 or whatever you wanted it to be. And it also comes with a calibration solution, which I haven't used yet because I want to compare it to my other one and see what's going on. But just the fact that it will send me a text, because I don't look at everything all the time under my house, it's great. So I'm starting to get my head around the idea of the utility of using different apps for my reef gear. It'd be nice if it was all one app, but it's not. And, if it didn't work, I would still tell you I didn't like it, but they sent it to me for free. So I should tell you that. And they're a sponsor. So that's great. And I really love it. I love it. It is going to make it so I change my DI resin much more realistically. When I first set it up, my TDS was 27.
Oh, wow.
Because I don't pay attention because that's how I reef. So
Champion Lighting and Supply, they sent Richard a Reef Factory TDS meter, and he loves it, and he talks about it for too long.
Thank you. Go to Champion Lighting and buy some stuff.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
How much to feed your fish?
Oh, yeah.
This is from I started a thread on the Discord about what you guys want us to talk about. And it was funny because some people said some stuff and then they said, but you guys have already talked about that in episode 27. And it's like, no, it's okay to repeat.
Yeah.
We have new thoughts.
And on top of that, like fish feeding techniques are kind of, it's not cut and dry.
Yeah.
I know because I read the thread on our Discord, and and the one person was like, tell me the simple way. And, for me, I guess I would say I hate to disappoint, but I was thinking about it. It's like, there's not a simple way because it's like every single tank varies and you have to find okay. Can I go first real quick?
We haven't even talked about what the thing is.
What the question was like, how do you feed your fish, or how much to feed your fish?
I could read the question because
I'm sorry.
I set it up so we know what the question is.
Go ahead. I'm getting ahead of myself.
How much to feed your fish? I struggle with this so much. You get so much advice when you were starting out about feeding, too much or too little, but no one can ever tell you what is too much. It's very subjective. Or if you ask about algae problems, saying you must be feeding too much, but don't ever actually show you how much you should be feeding. So you're just guessing. And what I think in my head is a small amount may be different from what other people mean. And it's hard to know when all you have is words on a forum or a Facebook group. So now you can go first real quick, unless you've forgotten what you were going to say, and then I'll talk.
I mean, at any type of aquarium, freshwater, saltwater, predator, community, whatever, I don't want to feed a fish tank and then, you know, an ambiguous number like 5 minutes later. I don't really want there to be food sitting around. And I especially don't want to feed the fish and get to a point where there's food laying around and fish are disinterested in that food. That is obviously too much food.
Right.
Now,
and this is for fish feeding. We're talking about feeding your fish.
Yeah. Now, the other thing too is I don't feel like it needs to be that complicated, because I think it takes observation of the fish that are eating and all the fish in your tank. You put some food in, whether it's frozen or pellets, whatever you have, and you observe what your fish are doing. I promise you, here's the thing, is that fish have relatively small stomachs. You know, if you see your fish feeding at any given feeding and you've seen everyone eats and whatnot, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think if we could, one way to distill the reef beef method is it depends, right? Both Ben and I don't like recipes for reef keeping because there are no recipes. And I think this is what screws people up, is they think there's a right way to do it. And there isn't a right way to do it. There's just the way you could do it for your tank, because no tanks are the same. So when we're talking about just feeding your fish, that's a totally different subject than feeding the tank to me. So I think those are related, but they're different, you know. And, you know, my friend Kevin was here when I was feeding my tank one day, and I said something like, you know, I wonder if this is a lot. And Kevin went, I don't think that's enough. You got a lot of mouths in that tank. I was like, okay, good. Then I felt a lot better about, you know, what I'm feeding. But feeding your fish, I think you're right. You're dead right. It all goes back. We should animate us on the cup that you're holding up speaking. It all goes back to, you know, freshwater fish keeping days. What do? You put some food in, you watch the fish. Are they eating it? Okay. You put a little bit more food in. Are they still eating it? Yeah. Put a little more food in. No, they're almost kind of eating it. You put a little bit more food in, they're not eating it at all. Okay. So instead of that, you can kind of just put in your first 3 feedings and amount of food at once, and your fish will probably eat all of that. But watch and see what they're doing.
I think we have a tendency to, and this is hard to quantify, but like the idea that you want your fish to be fat and stay fat, that can actually kill them.
Yeah, the fatty liver and stuff, right?
Yeah, fatty liver deposits. So, I mean, obviously everyone gets excited when you can see the little belly on the fish, and you also don't want them starving like a hungry coyote, but I mean, go within reason. And so here's the thing I tell my clients too, because we feed a lot of frozen foods. They're easy to quantify, and I feel like they have nice, fresh ingredients in them. But so I go by like, you know, I'll tell the client like, oh, dude, let's move to 4 cubes, or, you know, let's take away a cube. And what I do is when I get to a tank, I observe the fish's like physique and see if they look, oh, your bicolor angel looks a little skinny. Let's try to see if we can get him more food without overfeeding the rest of the tank, you know, stuff like that. But, you know, this tendency to overfeed fish, that's going to kill him, you know, that's going to kill him. It's not necessary. Oh, I'm sorry. What I tell my clients is take 1 or 2 days out of a week, and whether they're together or separated, and just don't feed your fish. It's fine for them to pass all this through.
I think people think, again, it's people looking for recipes on how to do things, and rather than finding out what works in the tank. And, you know, I think people confuse the idea of keeping like anthias or one anthea. If I ever say that for real, call it an anthea, stab me. But if you take, you know, a fish that needs to that feeds from the water column all the time and eats a little bit and doesn't really gorge eat, you know, those kind of fish, some of them do need to eat more often, but not all fish are like that. You know, you don't need to feed your tangs all the time where you're herbivores. You know, sometimes I don't feed the rabbit fish for days and days because they're supposed to be eating other stuff. Now, you can't start that from the beginning, right? You have to get them eating. You can't just take a fish from the wild and drop it in a tank and expect it to eat your algae. You want it eating stuff, but you know, you don't have to overfeed your fish. If they're not skinny, you're not overfeeding. Now you have to know what skinny is. I've got a copper band over here that's a little skinny. So right now, copper band's a weird fish because they don't eat flake and they don't eat pellets, but they will eat stuff in your tank. So if I don't feed my tanks for a week, which happens sometimes, the copper band behind me in the lab will get a little thin. The copper band in the display does not get thin because there is so much more surface area for little bugs for the copper band to hunt and eat. And all the other fish eat them too. So really, depends is really the right answer. You got to see for your tank. And I think that, go ahead.
You could go by like testing. Oh, my nitrates and phosphates are creeping up high. I don't like testing, so I don't use that method. You could go by, wow, I see a lot more algae now. You know, I do a lot of maintenance, so I usually skirt that. My thing is observe the fish, their physique or physiology, whatever you want to say, and learn that is a tricky one, because when I get new clients or I'm talking to people that haven't been doing the song, it's like, well, don't let your fish get too skinny or too fat. And they're looking at me like, I don't know what that looks like. And it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, you can say, right now they look good. Keep them looking like this. And every time I come, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Right. The freshwater thing was, how much can your fish eat in 5 minutes? That's a fine rule of thumb. I mean, it's just a rule of thumb. If you want to feed your fish more than that, go ahead. I don't really think it's going to have much to do with.
Like you see the thing of someone putting nori on a clip. Okay. And then, you know, and again, I tell people, you know, about 5-10 minutes, if there is nori sitting on a clip floating there for like 6 hours, 12 hours, like take it out. All you're doing is fouling the water. That's too much. Put in less. Put in food and let the fish go nuts on it for like 5 minutes. And if anything's left after 5 minutes, you know, don't put so much in there.
Can I tell you a secret?
Tell me a secret.
It's not really a secret. Part of the thing that I'm remembering about me and the show as my brain gets better is that I like to tell the dirty underbelly things of reality of keeping a reef tank rather than the, you know, the sanitized online version of what people like to show.
Satanized.
Can I go sideways for a second?
Dude, go diagonal for all I care.
I'm not OCD about my tanks. I think people who are OCD about their tanks have become like the de facto standard of tanks. And I want to say to everybody, you reef the way you want to reef. Don't let anybody's system define how you should be doing your system. You know, as long as it's safe, then that's the only reason I'll talk about cord management of any kind is for safety. If it's a mess and you understand your mess, fucking you do you, baby.
Oh, you talking about like people freaking out about your cords and stuff?
Yeah, people always freak out about my cords. They used to freak out about my salt creep, and now they freak out about my cords. And it's just like, especially because my cords are behind a door. So the only time you see them is when you're doing maintenance. So it's like organizing the silverware drawer. I also have a problem with that. It's just not important to me. Or my closet. I don't care if my underwear is folded. What the fuck? But I get that some people care about that. I just don't. I just think that what we see most of the time is a super cleaned up version of people's tanks when they take pictures of them and stuff. And people think that that's the way it has to be, and it doesn't, man. You just do. If your tank, you know, if you got salt creep everywhere and you clean it up once in a while and it's not dripping over the sides, you know, to ruin your floor, or, you know, who cares? I don't care. Why should you care?
I guess my caveat is don't make don't make, because Lord knows we've seen enough of this, and even recently, don't have your tank be some sort of electrical fire hazard.
That's the most important one, right? So, but if you got salt creep on the rim, or if you're like me and you've got lock line over your tank, remember it's got to be over the tank because it drips. And it's got salt creep on it. Don't touch it. Leave it alone. Who cares? Unless you don't like it. But is that how you want to be spending your time, cleaning your lock line once a week? I mean, if it is more, don't take my crazy looking face when I go, yeah. If that's what you dig, baby, you dig that, right? Oh, by the way, my new lock line thing, you know how I have my lights hung from that armature? There's the four posts up on top that things hang from. I've now taken silicone cased copper wire, like for plants, and I've tied that up to the top, and then I support the lock line with that. So it goes, it's now supported, so the lock line doesn't dip anymore.
Did it sag on its own?
Sometimes, especially as I've gotten weirder with the lock line, and made longer runs and things like that.
Does the copper kind of bugs me? Does that scare you at all?
The copper is inside of the silicone.
For sure, but what if?
That little end of copper sticking out in the air above the tank, I'm not worried about at all. In my tank, because there's plenty of ventilation. So I don't think that the copper's never in contact with water, and nothing's ever dripping off of it. So I'm not worried about that at all.
Okay. It just feels like, hey, I got this mercury encased in silicone. I keep it in my cheek.
I do not use that silicone encased wiring in contact with water for that reason.
Okay.
I think it's more like, hey, I've got this mercury in a jar and I keep it in my pantry, being worried that somehow it's going to jump out of the jar into your food. Meh.
We should all keep mercury in our pantry.
I've got some, actually. You can also seal the end if you want with some silicone, and then it's the whole thing is sealed. So, so anyway, reef the way you want, baby. Don't let people tell you anything. It's your tank. Let your freak flag fly. Do it the way that makes sense to you. That's how you're going to learn. If you're dealing with recipes all the time and trying to do what other people are telling you, you're going to learn much slower. Learn for you. The tank's for you. The tank is not for other people. Oh,
me, I'm a little, I don't disagree with you. I'm a little on the other side. I like to be clean, but it's for maintenance standpoint, so I can easily troubleshoot or remove or do all that stuff. But I'll agree with you on this. Like, people are afraid to talk about or show their stuff because they're afraid what people think about it. And that's not cool, because I'll also tell you, I just know that most tanks, the filtration, the wires are messy. That's the majority. I promise you, that's the majority. And then there's the few that it is sort of like a, how can I say that that's not
a showcase,
like gender specific, but it's like a measuring contest. Like, look how clean my stuff is. And it's like, you spent more time on cleaning your wires than you did your tank. Looks like crap. Now, not all of them look bad. I'm just saying some of them are like that.
Yeah.
Pristine system, but I don't know anything about aquascaping or where to place corals.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
It's like, I like to wear safety gear. I like the bright yellow jackets or with the green fluorescent on, I like that. And people are like, oh, what are you working in sanitation? It's like, fuck you. What the fuck? What? This is the only thing you have to talk to me about, is to make fun of the clothing I choose? What the hell do you care what I wear? I'm not at your business. I'm not your partner. We're fucking hanging out, and you're going to dish on me for wearing Crocs? Suck a nut.
By the way,
or a
sir,
labia. Suck a labia.
Please get back on the sidewalk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I just
sir, this is a Wendy's.
I mean, look at what we're wearing now in the show.
Yeah,
we're fucking idiots. Don't.
Hey,
we're talking.
I have a bed sheet on my wall.
We're talking about crazy things.
Yeah,
I was talking. The deep dark secret I was going to tell you is the only nori I ever feed is when I happen to feed LRS food that has nori in it. Otherwise, I never, ever, ever feed nori. And you know what? I really see it in my herbivores. They really, no, they're fine. They're, I think in a healthy reef tank, your herbivores should be herbivoring and then getting yummies from there. The nori thing, I think, is one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, I'm doing this and it makes me feel like I'm doing something for my, for my fish. Now, I don't care if people feed nori or not, but I squint really hard at the idea that you have to feed your fish nori.
Yeah,
What do you
guys,
think?
you and I in a earlier episode had a back and forth on that because I'm a little bit the opposite way. And LRS sells packages of nori as well, and I get those, but and then when clients have herbivores, and hey, lucky enough, I don't know if it's my skill or whatever it is, but my tanks stay really clean. My client tanks stay really clean, so the herbivores are herbing. But I guess my thought was that herbivores digest just the same thing. When we were kids, we learned like an elephant eats 90% of the day because it's so hard to extract nutrients from plant matter, that herbivores are like that. Now you have to learn which of your fish are almost like obligate herbivores, because not that many are. I mean, they're sort of omnivores, especially as they get older. But I just feel like I want an herbivore to be able to graze, especially if someone had like a tang that scares me a little bit, that I don't have a great track record of, like Achilles tangs. I'm just scared of them getting hungry.
Yeah. I think that's fine, but I think the shift from it makes me feel like I'm doing something that's helpful for the fish based on the way I have thought about reef keeping to you have to do this. I think that's a jump that I'm always squinting at. Why do we have to do this? Do we have to? Because if we don't have to, I don't want to.
One less thing to fuck with.
Yeah. I've got other things that I'm interested in fucking with more than,
I mean, and if you had an algae problem and then you're putting sheets of nori on a clip and you're like, Tang, eat my algae. And it's like, well, you're feeding them nori. I mean,
yeah, they are eating your algae.
Yeah, they're eating the tastier algae.
The tastier algae. Let me see here. Is there anything else? Is it subjective? No one ever can tell you what is too much. Correct. No one can ever tell you what is too much.
Observation.
It is very subjective.
My one word answer to that is observation.
I think we don't think there's often a connection between algae problems and feeding.
Not so much.
I think that's an immature tank, whatever that means. There's a video of me feeding my tank, but that's a lot of food.
Yeah.
And it's all different. And a forum or a Facebook group is a place to get some broad brush information. To get a real discussion, now it might be harder in those places, especially if you're just reading. So yeah, it's up to you. It is a guessing game.
And you're always subjected to like yellow belt or blue belt type bullshit, where most of the people answering your question on a forum only know what they're doing for the last 2 years or something.
Right.
So not to disparage those people, but it's like, it's tricky. It's like the deaf leading the blind.
It's tricky to find a rhyme that's right in time. It's tricky.
All right, Beastie Boy.
Oh, that's Run.
Oh, no, wait, that's Run DMC.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, we cannot exclude Jam Master Jay.
No, you can't. I was going to say I should measure the amount of food I'm putting in, which I should do anyway, because Craig...
just tell people 15 milligrams.
Right.
That's the answer.
Because, Craig has asked me to do that and I keep forgetting to do it. And I want to do anything Craig ever asked me to do. But that's what I'm going to be feeding my tank. It's not what you should be feeding your tank. I think we've done this one to death. You think so?
I mean, but that would be awesome if they asked that question. We're like, yeah, 20 milligrams.
Yeah. Oh, what's a milligram? I need a scale now.
Oh, but only have a 10-gallon. It's 20 milligrams. That's the answer.
I can tell you this. When I feed, I'll show you. When I feed my tank flake, and I feed a lot of flake.
Yeah, you kind of blizzard it.
I feed a lot of tank. Here, you can see in my hand the lid to the container I keep my flake food in. It's kind of big. It's like 4 inches across diameter and about half an inch tall. There. I'll fill that whole thing with food. And that's what I throw into my reef tank a few times a day.
But people also have to realize that you have a 20-year-old aquarium
With 1 million mouths in it.
that's wall to wall coral flesh. So if you did that in a year-old tank with little frags trying to grow, it's not going to be a
That's
good
right. It's not just 1 million corals mouths. It's a lot of non-photosynthetic coral mouths, which changes the game.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
PolypLab.
Does
Labs of
whatever
whatever
a PolypLab spins a
Polyp. Any size. Can't you see? It's PolypLab. We talked about it in the show already. Here we go. They're gluelets. The premium glue comes in the gluelet. I like the gluelets. You know, again, there's no better glue or worse glue, but this glue definitely has its place and I love it. It's a small little bit, so you don't overuse. You don't have to worry about it. You toss it when you're done. It's great. Ben loves it too. And I understand that they have a new version of their phone photograph filter set. And I'm waiting for one because I do use the old one a lot and I'd like the new one because I think the new one's supposed to be better. What do you like about PolypLab in 4 seconds? Because I think we've talked too long about PolypLab.
I like the Reefroids. Before I clean a tank, I'll take a little pinch, put it in the main pump, get it to flood the system, and I get my stuff ready and do the water change. That's how I sort of flood feed and then clean it up.
Yeah, Reefroids is good for your roiding your reef. So check them out wherever good products are sold, like our other two sponsors. And then you too can be powered by PolypLab.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah.
Let's do some story times.
Let's do that.
It's been a while for story times. Somebody asked us to do a story time about fish stories. Let's see what they actually said. Interesting fish encounters. Weird fish you have been cared for. A fish surprised you or taught you something. So go first, because you made a longer list than I did.
I was just laughing because I was thinking like a fish talked to me and like taught me like quantum physics or something. But no, I know what they mean, like the circumstances. It's more like, so, you know, I spent a decade in 5 different stores and worked at the Houston Zoo. So like I was around, I have experience with a ton of fish. So I was trying to think back to different stories. And I made a little list. I'll try to go through them quick. These aren't elaborate stories, but go ahead.
We might trade off back and forth.
Yeah, let's do that.
So
one of the first ones I want to say is when I was mostly hired at the Houston Zoo to take care of a 4,000-gallon reef tank. But the longer you're there, they start giving you more exhibits. So I took care of, I think it was like a 40 breeder, and it had 3 stonefish in it. Now, these were the worst ones, and I cannot remember their Latin name, but it was like terribilis or horribilis.
Stonefish fuck you upus.
It would there. What we had there at the zoo were the worst ones. I think they call them a 3-step fish or 4-step fish. You step on it and you have 4 more steps and you die. It just literally looks like a ball of mud and sponge and algae with a mouth on it.
Yeah.
But you know, and I knew they were bad, obviously, when the senior gave me that exhibit, but he's like, look, we don't put our hands in the tank for any reason. And he's like, you only feed these guys like silver sides with an Eheim tongue. And it's funny because since this was a zoo exhibit, you don't see the front, you know, you're feeding it from the back. And I used to just look over, see where one's at, get a silver side, and then you'd feel the tongue like jolt. And then you're like, all right, he got it. And you get another one. But they were big. They were like this. And they were cool, a little boring to watch, but just amazing how venomous they are. And I don't think there's an anti-venom.
Okay. What's the story?
No, just a cool, scary fish that'll kill you dead.
That'll kill you dead.
Yeah.
At the academy, we had them for a while and they were in a locked tank. There was actually a lock on the tank. Yeah.
We didn't lock ours. That's lame.
Yeah. Let's see. Arapaima. Arapaima is a freshwater fish. And we, Alan Jan had raised up about 15 of them from little tiny babies to about 1.5 feet. And they were in a big 800-gallon tank, and we drained it down, and we had to pull them out because we were shipping them out or moving them to an even bigger tank. And I went in, and we were grabbing them by hand, right? Oh no, this was a lungfish. I tell a wrong story. This was a lungfish. So it was a big lungfish. Forget about the arapaima. And the lungfish were very old, and so we want to treat them very carefully. And we were picking them up, and I picked it up, and it twitched in my hand with its tail, and it just fucking slapped me across the face with like a full-on giant open hand, but it was the tail of the fish slap, and just totally cracked my face over to the side. And I had this huge fucking tail print on my face. So the story there is use a net.
We have an early episode. I can't recall which one it is, but I believe we called that episode Fish Slap.
Fish slap.
And in that one, I tell the story when I worked at the zoo, a 6-foot arapaima gigas. We lowered it down, and I was cleaning algae, and I accidentally cornered it, and it jumped up onto my shoulder and knocked me in the water. That was a crazy one.
Crazy big fish.
Okay. So another time when I was at the zoo, so I was at the Houston Zoo, and then a ways from us, there's Moody Gardens, this other really big, aquarium place where you pay a ticket, and it's a huge public aquarium thing. But we would sometimes trade off species. They had a Maori wrasse that was so aggressive. I think it was like an 80,000-gallon aquarium. It had every fish, even fish that were like 10 times its size, like in a corner. And it was so evil that it would barely let any of the fish move around in there. So they brought it to us. And it's a real pretty wrasse, Maori wrasse, had a lot of red on its face. But it was so mean. We had it in a holding tank in the back, and I took a styrofoam cup, and I was just sort of going to mess with it. Well, it took the styrofoam cup away from my hand, and it shredded it into 1,000 pieces in the tank. It was so weird because all we did for the rest of the time I was there at the zoo, that fish just lived in a holding tank in the back. It was never on display. I think people don't realize that at some zoos, there's things that you don't see that just live in holding tanks in the back, whether someone's trying to make a display for it or it's just you don't know what to do with it. We weren't allowed to release it to the public.
Yeah, or some jackasses like brought it in and expected you to figure out what to do with it. And so
yeah, it just lived the rest of its life behind the walls at the aquarium. We couldn't do anything with it.
Public aquariums are not animal shelters.
No.
I think it's actually Maori wrasse is how you pronounce it.
Oh, really?
But maybe someone from New Zealand can let us know that.
Maybe they can tell us that through a didgeridoo.
That's so racist and wrong, because the didgeridoos are in Australia.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Oh.
Scott O is just there. Maybe he's talked to people about Maori wrasse.
Yeah.
They are a really cool fish. I was really sad. We had one at the academy once, and they put it in with the blacktip reef sharks, and it was only about 8-10 inches long, and was like, and then we came in one day and there was half of a fish left, and I was kind of bummed about that. Anyway, that's not a good story. Tell your stargazer story.
So before I worked at the zoo, I had no idea what a stargazer was. So we had 100-foot, I don't know what style of net it was called, like a surf net or whatever. It was just a very long, and me and another zookeeper would go far out, and we would go like on the surf side, and you would catch sort of hard to catch fish like that. And we brought it up, so the senior was with us. We were looking for stuff to put on display, and we caught this stubby little fish with his face on the top of his body, and he looked like the grumpiest like old man ever. And I'm holding it, and I was like, what the hell is this? And the senior was like, put it down because it can make electrical shocks. And I was like, what? And then I looked it up later, and the shocks it's not like what the senior was saying. It's almost like a morimid, like a freshwater morimid. It's like a very weak electrical shock to where they can find their food. But we never put it on display that I know of, but we took it back and you put it in a thick sand bed and it gets in the sand and it situates itself to where it's just this grumpy looking face. And obviously they call it stargazer because it looks directly up at the sky. It's just a face in the sand. And it was like, I wanted somehow to put it on display, but it's one of those things where it would have to be like a species only because you couldn't really put other stuff with it.
Yeah, you have to work at the hippest aquarium in the world to let you put a fish like that on display.
Did y'all?
No.
Okay.
There's a terrible display on it. I'm sorry.
It's
how
a
are you saying
face
it?
in the sand.
Display.
Display.
It's a terrible display animal. Coolest animal ever. You know they have a lure.
Yeah.
Like
little-
it's like in their mouth.
Their chin or something.
I've got footage of one from somewhere. I'll see if I can find it because I didn't realize that this big. It looks like a leech. I was like, holy shit! I think you can hear me go, holy shit, in the video. I'll see if I can find it. I probably
And see,
can't.
I'm a weirdo because I'd probably go bankrupt, but I would open up like a public aquarium that just has nothing but weird ass stuff like that.
I love the weirdos. That's what got me into fish keeping at the beginning. I just wanted the weird ass fish.
A face in the sand.
A face in the sand. I guess that's what this episode is called. So yeah, that's our show. Thank you for watching. My name is Rich.
My name is Benjamin.
And we'd like to thank our sponsors at saltwateraquarium.com, Champion Lighting and Supply, and PolypLab for giving us power. And we also want to thank you beefers for helping support us. The memberships are amazing and gets you all kinds of contact with us and gets you in on the planning that we're doing for different things for Reef Beef and the hobby in the future. So go to reefbeef.com, reefbeefpodcast.com/membership. If you like what you're listening to, why not? And especially if you're this far into the episode, why not toss us some jingle and help us keep doing the show and make stuff happen. We certainly appreciate it. And we certainly appreciate you helping us figure out what content to cover. Very much dig it. And we love the Discord. The Discord is great. It's not a forum. It's a great place to go to have conversations that range all over the place and repeat themselves all the time because it's not really an archive of information. It's an ongoing conversation. And we realize it's not for everybody and we're not trying to force you in there. But if you can get your mind around it, am I wrong? Once you and I didn't like it at first either, right? And then it's like, no, we understood what it was. And
We'll get people come in and they're like, I don't know where to post stuff. It's like, just start talking. Just put it somewhere and you'll get, do not be intimidated by our Discord. Just come in and introduce yourself and just start talking. No one's going to be like that.
So we dig it. So thank you for all the support. And until next time, keep your corals wet and your hands dry. A face in the sand.
Do you have another?
No, let's call it. That's a nice ending to the show.
Oh, for sure. No, but do you have any more fish things?
Not if we're ending the show.
Are we ending it now? I'm only halfway through my stupid
That's what I
list.
just said. That was a nice way to end the show.
Oh.
You don't have to do your whole list every show. I said at the beginning, it's a lot of stuff. We're at an hour.
Well, join the Discord so you can see the rest, hear about the rest of my weird fish.
No, you do it on the next show.
We'll do it on the next show.
How do you not understand this? Oh, I do, because you don't write stuff down, so you forget.
I do, but I write it in different places and I put it on the wall and I string yarn between them. You know what this means?
This means that we didn't talk about it yet.
Yes, I must be fun to work with.
So much fun.
Hello, this is Reef Beef.
No.
Oh my God.
No.
Okay. That's definitely a do-over.
I'm being an asshole for, I don't know why.
For a change? Okay, ready? Just keep eating. Just
My
eat.
hair is crazy.
Oh, it's male pattern baldness. Don't worry about it.
I love it. Actually, your tubing is $666. That's how much it costs a foot. or
Okay,
6
but
inches.
I like that.
666.
I like it.
I guess I can't. That's good. Well, I'm not going to talk about not using Cipro because of I like that most of this show is me just looking up something.
Yeah. Radio
Online.
silence with Richard. Just
Maybe they took it down. Oh no, there's my camera's changing again, even though Snowman told me to fix it, and I thought I
fix
did.
it.
Maybe I'll just stop moving my arms around. All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, my dude. Later.
Later.